Hi guys, Nigel Farage said recently that he would boycott the BBC over its lack of positive coverage of Reform UK. Well, that didn't last very long because he was on the Laura Kuenssberg show talking about Trump. But before we even knew the name of Trump's attacker, the usual suspects in politics were trying to take advantage of the situation. And of course, mainstream media outlets like Sky and the BBC were giving opportunists exactly what they wanted. Farage was blaming the Democrats and the mainstream media for the attack on Trump, ignoring the vitriol that Trump and Farage had whipped up in the US some time ago and recently.
What did you think when you heard the news, first of all?
I was very upset, and I'm still upset. I'm obviously pleased that my friend Donald's got away with it. Only just, but he's got away with it. But one person is dead. Two more are fighting for their lives in hospital. So it's an absolutely horrendous incident. And yet, somehow, I'm not shocked by it. The narrative that is put out there about Trump by these liberals that oppose him is so nasty, is so unpleasant, that I think it almost encourages this type of behaviour.
Are you suggesting that the political environment is to blame for this?
Well, you can always pick out quotes. I mean, it was just a few weeks ago that Joe Biden said Trump must be put in the bullseye. And, you know, we talked earlier on this programme about social media, and that's quite right. There are some things that are said on social media that aren't acceptable. But there is also a mainstream media narrative. And I'm afraid it's very, very one-sided. The BBC is a part of this. It's happening in this country. I mean, I've faced continual attacks for over a decade now. Because it's me, no one cares. In fact, it's even funny, you know. I mean, one of the many times that I had a drink thrown at me, you know, a comedian, so-called comedian on a BBC show says, well, why not battery acid? I mean, I just find the fact that individual, Joe Brand, is still on BBC programmes, I find that really pretty appalling. We've got Mr. Aronovich, who does programmes on Radio 4, who recently said that the best way for the Democrats to deal with Trump is to have him shot. Now he says now that was a joke. But so I do think mainstream media, I do think liberal intolerance is increasingly a part of this problem. And yet,
Mr. Farage, you're not suggesting surely that this is coming only from one side. If we concentrate on what's happened in America, do the Republicans also not have a responsibility in terms of creating a political environment? Many of Donald Trump's supporters have on many occasions used incredibly direct language here.
Oh, that's right. And look, there are extremists on both sides of the political divide.
What does she mean by direct language? Just call it what it is. Offensive language, threatening language. There were pictures of Joe Biden wrapped up like as a hostage or something and printed out and stuck on the back of people's trucks. People called for Joe Biden to be hanged. Like, don't call it direct language, call it threatening language, because that's what it was. Now, when somebody from Reform UK says something that's racist, or somebody from the Brexit Party did it, or somebody from UKIP, of course, in Nigel Farage's mind, that's just a joke. But when it's about Farage, of course, it's a problem. It's always double-sided. And of course, Farage trying to make all of this about him as well. You know, the story is Donald Trump, but of course, Farage has to bring himself into the situation. And he's trying to blame the Democrats and the mainstream media here, ignoring the fact that Donald Trump has whipped up anger for the last number of years. You know, he's linked to this January 6th attempt to overthrow the government. You know, so Donald Trump is not some sort of victim, you know, an innocent victim here. He's part of the problem as well. Now, Farage's whole narrative would have been fine. Look, the Democrats have been whipping up anger against Donald Trump. The media are one-sided. And of course, then you had this Democrat go out and shoot Donald Trump. But it doesn't seem to be the case, because it seems that this guy was a Republican. And he was part of, or he was at least wearing a T-shirt that represented, so far, if this information is confirmed, represented an organization that is pro-gun. Now, Donald Trump is pretty much pro-gun as well, because he realizes that if he wants to win the Republican supporters over to his side, he needs to be pro-gun. But he did recently, or a couple of years ago, support greater background checks on people getting access to firearms. So that might have rubbed some people the wrong way. There are some very crazy people in the US, especially the ones who love to have their guns. So it's a possibility that the guy who attacked Trump is one of these crazy people who thought that Trump was too much on the left. It's too far to the left. So when it comes to guns, so this is his reaction to that. Now, once again, this is speculation. We don't have all the information yet. But for Farage to blame the media and to blame the Democrats when it seems the shooter was a Republican is just him trying to blame, people who are not responsible for this. But of course, no mention of Trump and the language he's been using over the last number of years. And of course, no mention of Farage, who's been there by his side, whipping up anger as well. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.